Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ask a Death Doula. It is very exciting because we have now our Doulagiver Practitioner Graduate Spotlight Series, and we're going to be highlighting. There's so many amazing people in this space. I was just sharing that I am honored to be among these amazing people that are out in the world making a shift of end of life. So you are going to meet a very special one today. I want to welcome Judy Arisi, one of our Doulagiver graduates. Judy, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you and we're thrilled to spotlight you. You know, we've been moving in rapid pace with this movement. You know, all of a sudden when we started talking about that death is not a medical experience, it's a human one, everyone was like, oh yeah, we forgot that in the last 100 years. And so we've been trying to catch up, and it's something that's globally a movement because we have end of life everywhere. And so with the education and the beautiful people like yourself stepping forward to be part of this global shift, it is amazing to have this beautiful time now to start sharing your story, sharing the inspiration that you provide and the good work that you're doing in the world. So welcome. Okay. The first question that I'm going to ask you, and we're going to go over quite a few things here today, but the first one is I want to ask you, what brought you to this space of becoming a doulagiver practitioner? What was your path here, if you would share?
Well, completely unexpected path. So, I was working in a job for many, many years, and I knew when what I was doing was not my purpose in life. I knew there was something bigger out there that I was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother-in-law had passed away about a year prior to me deciding to make this change. And watching her pass away and not really understanding everything that was happening
Mm-hmm.
and why it was happening it was scary. And I thought there has to be a better way to do this, to
Right.
make to be on to know what's really happening to someone as they're entering into their end of life.
Absolutely. I think you just said everything of why Doulagivers Institute was created. Because people are dying, right? So it's 100% guaranteed that we are going to experience end of life with those that we love. And, you know, we've pulled a lot of statistics out there to really show where we're at right now. And 98%, Medicare has determined that 98% of the hands-on care for somebody at the end of life, even with hospice care, which is a beautiful model,
Mhm.
98% is done by the family, when they usually don't know the first thing about how to care for somebody at the end of life. So there's huge gaps in the system, and you just pointed out exactly that. And so we really need on what I call multiple pathways to help make a cultural shift with end of life. So bringing back the education to families before they ever need it, hopefully, getting out in our communities and doing advanced
Mhm.
directives and that, and then having practitioners like yourself, like doulagiver practitioners that can actually be like a birthing doula, but for people at the end of life, and hold that space for them if that family is
Mhm.
requiring that. And right now, a lot of families, unfortunately, are trying to navigate this very feared area by themselves, and it can't go well with that. So that's what brought you here. And I think a lot of us are brought to this space when we didn't exactly know that we were headed here. I mean, even myself, I was a hospice nurse, and now, of course, I'm, you know, a death doula trainer with this movement because that's what we need. So your mother-in-law had their end of life. You knew there had to be a better way for this to happen, but you also said something else that I want to highlight, is that you knew for yourself that you felt there was something more that you were supposed to be doing. I think that's
Mhm.
really, really beautiful and so important, because I feel the same way. So how long ago was that when your mother-in-law had her end of life?
She passed away. It's been 6 years.
Okay.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
It sometimes seems like yesterday. And when did you graduate from Doula Givers?
I graduated I think 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. I'm trying
Okay.
to look at my diploma to see. It's been about two and
Yeah.
a half years, I think.
And in the meantime, I read, and it's so beautiful, that you went back to the hospice, I feel like, that cared for your mother-in-law because you thought what beautiful support they had, and volunteered for them.
Yes, yes. So I
right
started
away.
volunteering from it, and that's when I really realized that this was it. This what I was supposed to do, and
Yeah.
I had been doing it for a while. And then one day I got an email from one of my cousins who said, "I read this really amazing article on doulas. Isn't that what you do?" So I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh! I never realized that there was an actual term. This is something real that people do." I
Mhm.
researched courses, and I found doula givers, and
Mhm.
I did the 90-minute training. And at the end of that training, I said, "Yep, this is it." And my husband came home because he was out with friends, and I said, "I know what I want to do. I want to be a doula." And he looked at me and said, "What the heck is a doula?" And I said, "It's this amazing thing." And he said, "You know what, Judy, if that's what you want to do it." And I signed up for the course that night, and here I am.
Oh, beautiful. I love that so much. So I know that there's people need to understand, especially for doula giver, our training and the doula giver practitioner, there are so many different things that you can be of service within that space. So I want people to understand that, swooping in at the very end of life is obviously very important and really good to help with people, but a good end of life, and this is from, again, a vast amount of experience, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. A really positive end of life starts way back here with understanding what choices are and doing
Mhm.
advanced directives and where would I want to be at the end of life and how do I support that family. So our doula giver practitioners like yourself are able to step into so many different areas of service within being a doula and a doula giver. So I want people to understand it's not just that bedside vigil. It's a lot more than that. So I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you, where do you serve right now? So where is most of because I know we can do a lot of different things. Are you
Uh-huh.
working alongside, families or agencies or doing education in your local community at the library? Where are you doing your beautiful outreach and service?
So a little bit of both. So I
Mhm.
do outreach at programs in libraries, trying to teach about end of life, the importance of choice, giving
Yes.
people the choice, what they want, where they want to be, who they want to be with, because I don't think people realize that they can have those choices
Right.
about where they want to be. So I do a lot of education around that. I
Mhm.
work a lot with hospice, and
Mhm.
most of my work is really with the families
Yeah.
and the patient. And it's becoming a companion to the patient, becoming um, an advocate for them, and
Right.
listening to what they have to say and what they want. It's interesting. I had a hospice patient, and the family said to me, "Please don't tell my mom that she's on hospice. We don't want her to know that she's dying."
Mhm.
And I said, "Okay." When I started visiting with this lady and developed a relationship with her, one day she said to me, "Please don't tell my daughter that I'm dying." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, if these two people could get
Mhm.
together and talk about this, wouldn't this be really wonderful?" They both know it's happening, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah. I've
So
had
I
that.
did,
Yep.
yeah. And I did bring it up to my director at hospice, and I said, "The mom knows that she's dying,
Yeah.
and don't you think that we should tell them so that the two of them can talk about this?" And they did, and it was great. But
That
yeah, it illustrates the fear behind people talking about end of life.
Yeah, Judy, that's such a great example. And I think that that's one of the things, and that same scenario has happened with me. I think that being that doula giver, you have that trusted, non-judgmental presence that you show up with, and that you're able to really meet people exactly where they are and see where they are. And so you're seeing, and this is
Mhm.
again happening with lots of families, that death is the number one fear in the world right now. And so we don't talk about it. We don't plan on it, even when it's right in front of us. And what a moment we miss of saying our final goodbyes or whatever it is that we want to have in that space, because this is it. So if we are all pretending it's not happening, we're denying that
Mhm.
closure and that actually sacred moment of time that is something we're going to hold on to forever. So what a beautiful thing that you are able to provide that bridge. And right now it is, because I hope by the time that you and me, that we're years into this, decades into this, we see that we're talking about death just as naturally as we're talking about life, that we bring it back into the sacred fold. And I think we'll get there for sure. But right now, the doula givers are those bridges to those sacred spaces, and even to going to hospice and saying, this is what's happening with the family. You should know this because you are the medical manager. And I think we should open this conversation up or have a meeting. It's priceless what you do. Beautiful. Yeah. So what services do you offer from your beautiful website and what you do? Because I know for myself, when I think about it, like, I think we all have our strong gift within being a doula. And I know for me, it's educating. And obviously, I'm a former hospice nurse. I'm a former oncology nurse. I built out this training. So the education is something that's really part of, I feel like, my gift that I'm supposed to be sharing. I love obviously working with patients, but you have so many beautiful things that you can offer that you do on your website. Could you share some of them with us?
Sure, absolutely. So for me, for my strong point, my strong cat point, I really believe is developing the relationship, a trusting relationship with the patient, and then the family, and listening, the active listening, the being present, and making sure that the patient is being heard. So that's a big part of it, and encouraging the conversations, and because it's amazing what people will tell you that they may not have told anybody else, their fears, regrets, successes, and then making sure that the patient's choices are met with environment. So I do a lot with Reiki. So I offer Reiki to my patients, and sometimes to the families. We talk about legacies. We've written letters together. I've helped patients write letters to their families that they've given out at a later date. And one of the things that I do in my work is, when my patient does pass away, I have kept notes of conversations that I've had with the patient, and I let them know that I'm doing this. And then I write their story, and I give it to the family members so that they can read it, because some of the things that people tell you are so beautiful that maybe they never said to anybody before, or family didn't realize the impact that they made. So that's really what I like to do. I think it's important as well to do the advanced correct directives, have those in order, but I'm really more on the more personal side of things.
Yeah.
That's my strong suit, I guess.
I love it. You have such a beautiful presence with that. And there's such moments of richness, like you said. And I love that you're capturing those for the family after, because I will tell you that the awareness that happens at the end of life, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, that when people start to really do their life reviews and look at things, and you're right, stories that come up that many times the family have never heard, or epiphanies that the family has never heard. And for you to capture those times, because you're the trusted doula, there's this opening that the person feels great about exchanging that, or maybe you're even creating an environment for that to flourish within them. And so for you to capture those and to give them as gifts to the family, I think that is just incredible. That's really, really beautiful. So what does a typical week in your life as a doula giver look like? It sounds like it's a little bit of many different things.
It is. Well, and it's a lot of, I wear a lot of different hats, I say, because I never really know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to get a call from hospice or from a client. So I always say every day is different. And you never know. But I think that you always just need to be prepared for, as best as you can be,
Sure.
for what may happen that week. But I say all the time that this has truly changed my life. Doing this work has truly changed everything about my life. What I think is important, and what I value, and how I live my life has changed
In
because
what way? In what way has how you lived your life? Because I feel this, I feel the same way, but
it has made me very grateful, you know, for everything. It has made me grateful for the relationships that I have with people. It has actually taught me and forgiveness. And I
Mhm.
doing this, I didn't realize when I started that there was some stuff that maybe I needed to
Mhm.
work on. And
Right.
so I remember that, and it's letting go of the small things in life, the things that you think really matter but really don't, and fostering relationships with people and saying thank you for even the smallest thing.
Mm.
It's just it just changes your it makes you really want to live your life as best as you possibly can.
Oh, that's so good. Every single day, right? I always think of life every day like a little lifetime, because one day this journey will be over. So what a gift that it is. And I love that you said, you know, the preciousness of the day, of presence, of the moments that we have within the day, not sweating the small stuff. Um, it completely changed my life. And you're saying that, like, a lot of the things that I feel myself. One of the things that I noticed too, and we can talk about this, is I feel like it's such a honor and a privilege to be invited into the homes of people in
Mhm.
their time, usually of crisis, and they really open their hearts and their homes to you in a way that, just like that, is something that for me shifted, me being feeling like I was part of something so much greater, and the love of the humanity within each of us, and just being present with no judgment in this space, is really all we have to remember, I feel like, to really even just change the world, to meet each other like that. So do you want to share about any beautiful moments that you've had with some of your patients that really, you know, have just broken open your heart? And I, you know, I'm sure there's almost with every single family. It's just that beautiful conversation, or those, you know, those heartfelt thank yous for what, you know, you did to hold them together in this time of need. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually do have a couple of stories. So
Yeah.
one of them, and I didn't really know this family well because the gentleman had started to transition,
Mhm.
lady, excuse me, had started to transition and actively die, and they said that the family's having a really hard time. Can somebody come and sit with them and just be present? So I said, of course. So I'm sitting and I'm talking with the family, and I'm looking at the pictures on the wall, and we start this conversation about someone at a picnic. So now the whole family is talking about, oh, that's the year that we went to the lake every year, and now everyone's talking. And then they asked me if I would help to pick out the outfit that their mom was going to wear in her funeral at her funeral. And I was blown away that somebody would actually ask me to do that. And we all stood around the closet pulling out outfits, and it was really, really it was really amazing. And I was sitting also with the patient, and the nurse came in and said, you know, any family member who doesn't want to be here, you can just ask them to leave. And I know that she was talking about me. And the family members looked at me and looked at the nurse and said, Judy has been with my mom for 8 months. She is family. We would never ask her to leave. And I thought, wow, you know, I never knew that they looked at me that way, but they did. And it's an honor to sit there with someone at their end of life and hold their hand and be present when someone taking their last breath. Wow, it blows you away with emotion.
Judy, what you just shared is absolutely priceless. what you just shared and that family that I'm tearing up now. You are family, and how much you were part of that experience. And it was, validated and shown to you by helping pick out the outfit, and that you are in this sacred circle and guiding it, and what you meant to them. Because I feel right now people are so fearful in this space and so lost that even that doula just helping navigate, give them direction. A lot of the times we say we're not doing anything. We're not making decisions as doulas.
Mhm.
We're allowing you to make choices subjectively that are good for you, but reminding you that you do have choices. And one of the
Mhm.
first things that you shared was that people don't know they have choices, even to go
Mhm.
home, even
Mhm.
to die at home, which, by the way, we know that 9 out of 10 people want to be at home. So we're
Mhm.
actively really trying to support the patient to be able to have that end of life at home, but also for the family to be able to get the support they need to be able to do that. So that is, what a gorgeous story. I love that so very much. So now I have
Mhm.
to gush on you a little bit, as if you would allow me. You have won, you're the recipient of the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization Volunteer of the Year Award for 2023. Judy,
Mhm.
that is incredible. And it is no surprise. It is no surprise to me. How does that feel? And what an honor that is. That is just incredible.
Well, overwhelming. I
Yeah.
still can't believe that that I won. I can't believe it. I never realized that I was doing anything that was that good. I I guess. I was shocked, overwhelmed. It still brings me to tears when I think about it,
It
you know.
should. It should. That is a huge award, because there are so many wonderful people out there doing this work. But for you winning the award of the year, and again, it's no surprise. You are absolutely incredible. You always have been. I've been watching you and on the meetings and just the work that you're doing. And again, it's just an honor to be in this space with you. How many families do you think you've actually worked with? Have you thought
Oh,
about that?
wow. Yeah, it has to be um probably at least 50, I would say, families that
Beautiful.
I've worked with
Hmm.
since I've started. At least probably more,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, like at
it's
end
been a
of,
journey.
absolutely. And I think that people need to remember that there is not one end of life that is exactly the same as another. And you
Right.
alluded to
Mhm.
this, is that you need to, every day can be different of what's being asked of you. And you need to know the foundations and the education, but then meet people where they are and work from that point. And of course, symptom management. And it's different. You're not
Mhm.
only caring for the person, you're caring for their loved ones as well. So
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch there, which is, that's amazing. Um, I will ask you this. If somebody was thinking that being a doula giver or a death doula is in their calling, what would you
Mhm.
say to them? What advice would you give them?
If somebody was thinking about it,
Hmm.
I would say if you're thinking about this, if you've thought about this, then you should do it because it is indeed a calling. Like nobody gets up in the morning and gets out of bed and says, "I think I'm going to be a doula."
Yeah,
You know, if you're thinking about doing it, you know that you have it in your heart to do it and you should just go for it.
because it changes your life, you
It
know?
does, it does change your life.
And
It
it's
really
interesting because we're
does.
taking a training, and I always will say this, because we're learning to care for others at the end of life, but your life goes through a total transformation from all of the wisdom
Mhm.
and the service and the connection that you have in the most beautiful way. So it's a win-win. So I agree.
It's true.
If it's choosing you, which I like to say, if it's showing
Mhm.
up, do it, because that to me is where all the beauty in life happens, is when we follow our calling in our heart. And that's always going to
Mhm.
be tied to service. So I love that.
Yeah.
Judy, you are an inspiration, and we are so grateful to have you in the world and being in this space and teaching us and supporting patients and families. How can people get in touch with you? I know you offer teledoula services and you have a beautiful website. How can they get in touch with you?
So the best way is to go on to my website, And then I have an email address, and there's a telephone number as well that you can reach me. And I usually respond within 24 hours of anyone reaching out to me. And then what I do is we have a conversation and we talk about what someone is looking for and how can I help you, and what is the most important. I like to start with what is the one thing that you think that you need right now. And then the conversation starts from there. We have a consult. I do a treatment plan, so to speak, saying, okay, this is where we can start. And that's very fluid. So it's always changing. You never know. We might say we're going to move in this direction. And then once you start talking with someone, you know, the direction of that changes.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. And it does. And that's a perfect way to do it. Just pick one thing. And I love how you said, what do you need? What do you feel you need? Because this is when we teach at Doulagivers, and when we know this is about your journey, and we are here to show up to support you. So thank you so much, Judy. We'll have your information for people down below so they can easily get in touch with you. And I just want to thank you again for the beautiful work that you're doing in this world. So please keep up the amazing work, keep the inspiration and the teachings going. And I want to thank you for being a guest on Ask a Death Doula.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for providing the training, because had it not been for you, I wouldn't be here today. So
it takes a world, right? We do it together.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being on this episode of Ask a Death Doula, our Doulagiver Graduate Spotlight Series with Judy Arasi. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.